it is important for us to be very honest with the good people of this country in terms of the kind of information we give them and what to tell them to expect. And for me, it appears that our brothers and sisters in the New Patriotic Party are still struggling to come to terms with the humiliating defeat they suffered. And that has also more or less led to an illusion that possibly they did so well in government and so they shouldn't have lost the election. Today, my brother is talking about cost of living. Since this government took office, has he seen any data suggesting that cost of living has gone high under His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama? This is an important show. And so sometimes what we put out there must be backed by data and facts. It is that kind of communication that resulted, or one of the reasons why they lost in that manner. Because they talk to themselves and they listen to themselves and they are excited that they are making an impact, when in actual sense they are not. And I'll tell you why. On this same table, my brother has indicated that clearly we are not fulfilling any of our campaign promises and we will not fulfill them. Tomorrow, the NDC in opposition indicated to the good people of this country that we're going to scrap the e-levy. We have done so. We said we're going to remove emissions levy. We have done so. We said we're going to take away, betting tax. We have done so. We indicated to the good people of this country that we're going to set up the National Apprenticeship Program. His Excellency President Mahama has done so. An allocation of about 300 million Ghana cedis has been made to it. We indicated that we're going to launch the 1 million coders program. Just yesterday, that was launched to ensure that we support or empower the youth of this country with digital skills. We indicated our commitment to ensuring that we get state-owned enterprises to suddenly begin making profits. Not long ago, about 3 weeks ago, TOR signaled that they had made an impressive turnaround in terms of their profit margins, in excess of over 100%. That is leadership. These are commitments. These are fulfillment of campaign promises. Unless, of course, that has a different definition in the dictionary. So let us be very careful with the kind of things we say. Again, you are talking about COVID, COVID tax and stuff like that. Unless, of course, you are not following the discourse. We have stated clearly that it has been fused as part of the value-added tax. And our finance minister, the Honorable Dr. Atuforson, has consistently said that if you look at our VAT ratio, about 22%, roughly, it is about the highest in Africa. And there's the need for us to have a holistic assessment of it, to bring it to a level that we can defend. And we are still in the process of that. He gave an indication that somewhere July or August this year, the technical team working on it would have been out with their recommendations for us to ensure that we deal with all these issues holistically. We don't have to go pull out COVID levy, then finally go back trying to deal with, what's the name?
The VAT.
The VAT. It is a component of it. And so these are some of the measures, and that is why I'm telling you that this government is a meticulous one. You are talking about the NDC not fulfilling its promises. Come on. Every Ghanaian knows. And these are things that we have done in a matter of less than 120 days. Never heard of. Under you were milking the public purse of this country with over 100 ministers. His Excellency President Mahama, in opposition, made a promise that he was going to reduce the number of ministers. Today, we have about 60 ministers. In fact, 4 are yet to be appointed. So in all, we have about 56 ministers appointed so far. Marginal reduction. You cannot even refer to this as marginal reduction. This is an impressive reduction as far as the number of ministers are concerned. And it's going to have a rippling effect in terms of how we manage our public finance. You sit here and talk about utility prices. What didn't we go through under Nanado and the NPP government? Tomorrow, what we are having to deal with today is still the ineffective and poor leadership of the NPP when it comes to utility pricing. You structured the ECF with the IMF. It was not the NDC government that did it. And I heard one of his colleagues on the same platform, I think within the week, indicate that we should point them to a statement in the arrangement with the IMF, the ECF arrangement with the IMF, where it stated that they will increase, what do you call it?
Utility tariffs?
Utility tariffs. Moro, just for the purposes of, if you take the agreement, you go to page 67.
Okay.
And this is what they say. I'm going to read. Over the course of the medium term, we will fulfill this objective by fully implementing the energy sector reform program to reduce power sector financial shortfall, improve ECG operational performance, and fully implement tariff reforms to ensure quarterly adjustments. Fully implement tariff reforms to ensure quarterly adjustments for cost recovery. Specific interventions which will be jointly overseen by Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Energy include, listen, implementing an upfront weighted average electricity tariff adjustment of at least 29% in January 2023 prior to action to limit the size of the energy sector shortfall. This will be followed by quarterly tariff adjustments reflecting exchange rates, inflation, and fuel price changes.
And which document is this?
That is the IMF, what's the name? Agreement, Memorandum of Understanding signed with Government of Ghana.
Right.
I think somewhere May 2023.
Okay.
You can Google it and you can see it on the IMF page. Go to page 67. You would find this there.
Yes, I remember. I think it was Ishaq Ibrahim.
Yes.
And Mohamed Abdulaziz.
Yes.
And Ishaq kept asking Mohamed Abdulaziz to pinpoint where in the MOU.
At their ignorance with even a very document that they birthed. So that is the kind of party we are dealing with. You have created this situation for us to deal with. When you lost the election, you were meant to announce the what we call the first quarter increments. You didn't. Per the release from the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, we got to know that as a result of your inefficiency, you have left us with an additional 987 million Ghana cedis in under recoveries because of your failure to even fully commit to these underlying terms of the agreement. And so these are monies that government would need to cover. You failed to make announcements for the first quarter of 2025. So if you are having an upward adjustment in terms of increment, tariff prices, it is largely because of your failure to announce for first. And we are now having a situation where we have to deal with the first quarter and second quarter put together. And also an arrears budget of about 987. And because of the economic cost of that on the ordinary Ghanaian, we decided that even taking the arrears bid, instead of just coming out with a figure that will reflect the 100% recovery, the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission decided that, look, let us do it gradual. And so this year, we are going to deal with only 50%. In terms of our effort to recover what has been lost over the first, second, and third quarter.
Help me with this. Now, regarding the hike in utility tariffs, and here more specifically with electricity, because that appears to be the bone of contention. I've heard John Jinapor in several other interviews say that the IMF and the World Bank had actually specifically instructed us to increase utility tariffs by some 68%.
58%.
58%, yes. Okay. Are you able to tell me whether it's actually contained in this same MOU?
Per the understanding, you see, what was happening is that it's not in this one. So what is happening is
general
that
talk about
because
adjusting.
they looked at the arrears and the failure of the MPP to stay committed to the terms, especially after August 2024.
Right.
So clearly, there was a need for us to make up for that shortfall. And they were making a recommendation to government that to be able to effectively deal with it, then we should be looking at an increment of about 58%.
Okay, so that's what John meant.
Absolutely. And government was like, no, the ordinary Ghanaian would not be in a position to bear this brand, especially considering the mess that we have inherited and the burden that the NPP had to impose on the Ghanaian people. And today, my brother talks about cost of living. Has he forgotten that as a result of their poor policies, driven by tendencies to corrupt the system, they subjected the good people of this country to a domestic debt exchange program, where Ghanaians who worked for years lost their livelihoods at the back of that. We've never had that since the Fourth Republic started. Have we ever had a situation where we woke up as a country and we're unable to pay even our local debts? Absolutely not. That is the legacy they left behind. And so they subjected Ghanaians since the establishment of our fourth republic to unprecedented hardship, where many of them lost in excess of 50% as far as their savings were concerned and their investments. And you are proud of this record? And you have the effrontery to sit on this platform and question the sincere and proactive steps of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and the NDC government since assuming office, barely 120 days ago. Absolutely. You see, we must take the good people of this country forward.
Okay.
We must not take them for granted. And you see, Moro, finally, my advice to the NPP is that they must accept that the people of this country punish them for the decisions they took in government. And to be able to let the Ghanaian people understand that probably they seem to have some remorse. The only thing they should be seen doing at this critical moment, whilst trying to work to rebuild their party, is to be seen as constructive agents of our democratic process, rather than being destructive in their tendency. That is not what is going to earn them trust. And throwing words about is not what will suddenly make the Ghanaian people begin to have confidence in the new patriotic party. Okay. Indeed, it has sunk so low. In Britain, we say that they have scraped the barrel. What's the term? We say that they have scraped the barrel below acceptable limits. Okay. And so my brother should come to terms with reality. All right. And know that, unlike them, we have a president who is committed. We have a president who is experienced because he knows the ins and outs of this country because he's been there before. Okay. And we are dealing with a president who is humble, respectful, and appreciates that the essence of leadership is not to be arrogant, but to stay committed to the promises you made to the Ghanaian people. And that on a daily basis, when you wake up from bed, you must be in a position to appreciate significant steps in terms of your agenda to improve the lives of the ordinary Ghanaian. And that is what we are doing. That is what the National Democratic Congress is about. At any point in time that we are faced with challenges, we'll be more than bold to let the Ghanaian people know that these are the challenges we are faced with as a nation. But finally, an interesting one. I'm sure you have read also in the news that in the coming days, we are going to have marginal reductions in terms of petrol, LPG as well.
I heard the announcement yesterday.
Clearly.
I heard the announcement
So
yesterday.
if you are not seeing these significant initiatives intended to lessen the burden on the ordinary Ghanaian, then I can understand why you are still struggling to even rebuild your party.